You know, it's funny. We're all born with this incredibly complex machine, our mind, but nobody ever gives us the instruction manual for it. Well, today, we're going to change that. We're diving into the user's guide you should have gotten at birth so you can finally understand and master your own emotions.
The poet John Milton really nailed it, didn't he? Your mind has this unbelievable power to shape your entire reality. It can turn the absolute worst situations into something you can handle, or it can turn the best of times into a complete nightmare. It's the ultimate creative force. Which, of course, leads to a pretty big question. I mean, if we have this built-in power to create our own heaven, why do we get stuck in these loops of anxiety and worry and just negativity? It feels like we're actively choosing the more painful path sometimes. Well, it turns out the answer isn't some personal flaw. Nope. It's all about how we're wired.
To really get a handle on our emotions, we first have to understand our brain's actual job description. And here's the surprising part. Its main job is not to make you happy. It's something way, way more primitive. Here's the most crucial point to get. Your brain evolved for one core reason: to keep you alive. Its job is survival, not happiness. And that right there is a huge, huge distinction. It wasn't designed to make you feel good. It was designed to keep you from being lunch. So now, in the modern world, it treats an angry email from your boss with the same red alert alarm as a saber-toothed tiger.
So you can imagine, this, let's call it ancient survival software, it has some serious side effects today. It creates this powerful bias toward negativity. It's why one single criticism at work can totally erase 100 compliments. Our brain flags that criticism as a threat to our tribe, our social standing, and it just goes on high alert, turning these tiny events into life-or-death dramas.
So look, the most important thing to get here is that there's nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. This negativity thing isn't a bug in your system. It was a feature that helped our ancestors survive. The only problem is that feature is now super outdated. So what's our job now? Is to consciously update our own mental software. And we can do that by understanding how feelings are actually made.
Okay, so how are these feelings actually, made? Well, it turns out that strong emotions aren't random. They don't just happen to us. They're created. And believe it or not, they follow a surprisingly simple and predictable formula.
And here it is. Every single strong, lasting emotion you feel is the result of these 3 steps: interpretation, identification, and repetition. Once you understand this process, you can jump in at any stage and completely change the outcome. Seriously, this is it. This is the control panel for your mind.
All right, first up, interpretation. Now here's the big secret. No event, and I mean no event, has any built-in meaning. It's just a neutral fact. It's the story you decide to tell yourself about it that creates the feeling. The exact same thing, rain, can spark total joy or complete frustration, all depending on the meaning you give it.
Okay, next is identification. And this is a really critical step where we almost always trip up. We have a thought, right? Something like, that was a sad thing that happened, and then we fuse with it until we start to believe, I am a sad person. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. Identification is when you forget that, when you believe that a temporary feeling is who you are. And when that happens over and over, it leads to the final step.
And finally, we have repetition. This is how an emotion gets locked in and becomes automatic. By replaying that same story and that same feeling again and again, you're doing more than just thinking. You're literally carving a groove into your brain, like water carving a canyon. You strengthen that neural pathway until it becomes an emotional superhighway, your go-to reaction for a certain trigger.
So if that's the formula, how do we hack it? How do we take back control? We're going to start with the most powerful lever we can pull: changing our interpretation. This is where you grab the pen and become the author of your own story again.
Just take this example. Your boss gives you some criticism. The event itself is totally neutral, but the story makes all the difference. A disempowering story like, I'm not good enough, leads to fear and anxiety. An empowering one like, okay, this is useful feedback, leads to growth. Nothing about the outside world changed, only your internal story. And that changed everything.
So from now on, this is the question you've got to ask yourself whenever you feel a strong negative emotion rising up. What is the story I'm telling myself right now? And then you hit it with the follow-up that can change everything. Is that story really true? Or is there another, better, more empowering story I could choose instead?
All right, now let's tackle the other two parts of the formula, identification and repetition. But here's the interesting part. The key isn't to fight these feelings or to push them away. It's to learn the skill of separating yourself from them, to learn the art of just letting them go.
I want you to really let this sink in. You are not your anger. You are not your sadness or your fear. You are the consciousness, the awareness that notices the anger, sadness, or fear. Think of yourself as the big, wide-open sky, and your emotions are just clouds passing through. The clouds come and go, but the sky always remains. Creating that little bit of space is the secret to freedom.
Okay, so how do we actually do this in the moment? This three-step process is incredibly powerful. First, just welcome the feeling. Don't fight it. Acknowledge it without judgment. See if you can feel it somewhere in your body. Then you just ask yourself a simple question. Could I let this feeling go? A simple yes or no is fine. The asking is what's important. And finally, would I? When? This puts you back in the driver's seat. And the most powerful answer is always now.
Now, look, this isn't some magic trick, all right? Learning to let go is a skill. It's literally a muscle. The first few times you do it, it's gonna feel a little weird, a little clunky, but you gotta stick with it. The more you practice letting go of the small daily frustrations, the stronger that muscle gets, making it so much easier to release the big, heavy emotions when they show up.
So, at the end of the day, our emotions aren't our enemies. They're not something we need to crush or defeat. They're just messengers. They're signals from our mind based on the stories we tell that are trying to tell us something. So the real question isn't how to get rid of them. The real question is, are you ready to stop, listen to the message, and then consciously decide what to do next?